Hello there and welcome. My name is Linda and this is my channel Linda T70. It's really good to have your company today. Thank you for watching my video today. Thank you if you're a subscriber and a regular viewer. Always good to have your company, and if you just happen to have found this channel, I hope you'll sit and listen to the content. It's a bit of a different sort of video today. It's basically me talking rather than showing you anything, so that might not be your bag, but I've said I'll do this video and quite a lot of you seem to be quite interested on, and the subject is being a grandparent. And as you might imagine, if you've watched me before, I do have my own sort of view on, well, we all have our views on things, don't we? But I'm going to try and keep this fairly light-hearted if at all possible. Just to say before we get started, to thank you all for your comments and everything on my previous video. The last 2 or 3 I've done, all been very much appreciated. It was the Roman haul that was the last one that I did, and I decided to keep the black and white top, although I'm aware it's probably a little bit big for me, but I didn't really think that mattered. And the dress and the orange top are going back, because looking at all your comments and looking at me back in the video, I thought that the black top was the best one out of the 3. So thank you for all your feedback on those things. So being a grandparent. Now, I've got to say before I start, please I don't want to offend anyone or with any different thoughts to me. I'm fully aware that I'm extremely lucky to have grandchildren. I love all of them equally. I just don't think I'm a very good grandparent. I know there's those of you out there might be some of you, and 1 or 2 of you have spoken to me in the comments that you've been caring for your grandchildren, solely caring for your grandchildren for a number of years, and that is absolutely amazing. And you've enjoyed doing that and you've reaped the rewards. There will be some of you who don't have grandchildren, perhaps because not of your choice but your own children's choice, and that might make you a bit sad. Or there might be those of you that have lost touch with grandchildren because of marriage breakdowns, relationship breakdowns. And so I'm fully aware that what I'm saying might not apply in your cases, but it's just my way of looking at things for me in my life and the way things are and the way I am. I wrote some notes down. I'm just going to plunge into this because I don't really know where to start and what to say. I did write some notes down, but they're all a bit haphazard. But the main thing about you have children. Let's assume that we've had our children, whether they be natural, adopted, surrogate, God knows what. There's you've got to be inclusive, really, haven't you? And I can only speak for me. So my story is, I had my children. I had no interest in children. I've never particularly had any affinity with children, apart from when I was actually a child. I didn't used to gaze longingly into people's prams and think, oh, I'd like one of those. I wasn't in the least bit interested. And when I married my previous husband, we were both the same. We were 22, both of us were 22. We were still having a nice life, going out and doing things, and we weren't interested. We never even spoke about children. And then a few years down the line, that changed and we had our daughter. And then a few years after that, we had our son. And my reason for having my second child was because my parents had always said to me that I was born. Mum was quite poorly when my sister was born. She'd lost the child before my sister, and when she'd had my sister, she was quite poorly and found it difficult to care for her. But then they emigrated to Australia, and the decision was made to have if they could, to have another child. So if anything had happened to them, my sister wouldn't be in Australia all on her own. And I'm going to shut that. I've put a stopper against that door, but it's still blowing. I'll shut that in a second. So that's why they had me, and I'm very glad they did, because my sister had a troubled life. We came back to the UK, but my sister had a troubled life, and I was very glad I was there for her. She had no interest in having children, and she didn't have the right sort of lifestyle anyway for that, with her own sort of problems that she had. But I've always kind of been the person that's, I think, looked after everyone. I'm just going to shut this door. Sorry if the light's a bit weird, but anyway. Yes, so that's why my parents had me. And when I'd got my daughter, we were quite happy with her. And then, you know, I thought about what my mum had said about me and my sister. And I thought, might be nice to have another child, so she's always got someone in the world if you know, if she'd grown up not to marry or be with anyone. So then we had our son, so that was wonderful. That was, we had 2 lovely children, and they have grown up to be wonderful people. Now look, talking to them since they've been parents themselves, I might have mentioned a couple of these things in videos before, so if I'm repeating myself, you know, forgive me. But they were pretty well behaved. I had nephews and nieces, and they'd come to visit my house, and they'd be running all over the place, and they'd be doing this and they'd be doing that, you know, taking bites out of fruit on the table and putting the fruit back. And frankly, because I'd not had a life around children and dealing with toddlers, or, you know, wasn't an auntie, you know, until I was older in life, because my sister, as I say, didn't have any children. I didn't realise that children behaved like this, and my children didn't. And I'm not saying they weren't ever naughty and whatever. Of course they were, but they tended by and large to do what they were asked to do. And I stress the ask them to do. I didn't tell them what to do. I think with children you have to pick your battles. And there's no point in shouting and screaming about everything they do. It's just trying to reason with them and just explain, well, this is a good idea, and they were quite responsive to that. And I've thought perhaps I've been looking at this through rose-tinted glasses, so I've asked a couple of my friends who are still around, who knew me before I had my children, and so consequently they grew up around my friends. And they said the same thing. No, I mean, they weren't the sort of children that would go and play with one of my friends had lots of little ornaments and things, but they didn't used to go, and unless they were allowed, you know, they asked, and she said you could touch them. But, you know, they were really, really pretty good, really, all round. And I kind of thought all children would be like this until my nieces and nephews arrived on the scene, because my daughter was the first grandchild in our family. And I found it. And the other thing was also around that time, when my 2 children got a bit older and were at school. Again, I think I've mentioned this before, but my previous husband became a school governor at their school, so I used to get involved with quite a lot of school things by default. It wasn't really my natural habitat to go into schools and do stuff, because I wasn't really very keen on mingling with other people's children. and I think it's a two-way thing. I don't think I appeal to small children very much. And I think I've told you the story about I think it was my son brought a friend home for tea after school one day, and he'd said something to my son before he left about, and Chris, my son, said to me, "Mummy, so-and-so's just said he thinks you're a bit strange." And my daughter was there on the landing by now with us, and I said, "Oh, why?" And he said, "Well, I don't know." And I said, "Well, do you think I'm strange?" And they both sort of looked at me, and my daughter said, "Well, we're used to you." So from that day on, I've thought I probably am just a bit strange. And you know, talking to them in later years as them being a parent, apparently I had the look. So they say this is why they used to know when they couldn't do anything. That was it. I might have told them once or twice. I never had to tell them the third time, because I gave them the look. And I wasn't aware of this at all. No one had ever told me. I mean, I do know that I've got one of those faces that when it's not moving, it's a bit, you know, cheer up, love, it might never happen type faces. But I didn't realise that I was giving them a look. But I'm aware of it now. it's a bit of a beast I find difficult to tame, because it very often pops up when it shouldn't. And I'm thinking that I'm going, not necessarily with children, this is with anyone really. But then I realised, I mean, I had an incident with one of my granddaughter's teachers a few months ago, and I knew that the look was there, and I thought, oh, she's going to think she's a cow. But you know, so it's a curse and a blessing at the same time. But anyway, they've gone on to have their own children now. One of my daughter's little girl, she is an exception. Just the way she is a well-behaved child. It's just the way she's turned out. And all the others are what I'd call, they're lovely, I love them, but they can be rascals. And especially when they're little, you know, the toddler tantrums and things. Yeah, it's difficult. And of course, when we're a blended family, so I have 2 children, and current husband has 3, and I moved into with current husband and 2 of his children. So I got to know his daughter, so she's now my daughter, well, and she lived with us for the longest, and her son was born while she lived here with us. So I've got a bond with him. I was there when he was born, which was quite amazing. I was one bit worried about that, because when you have a baby yourself, you're kind of on the giving end, not the receiving end, aren't you? You don't really see what's going on. But that was really nice. I was also there when one of my granddaughters was born as well, which was lovely. But so I've grown up. Or rather my grandson, I think, I've grown up with quite a different bond with him, because I've spent a lot of time with him. And I used to have to do I mean, when she said she was going back to work and I was responsible for a 6-month-old baby several days a week, because I think she worked her from home a couple of days or something, I can't remember now. I thought, God, what am I going to do? I'm going to, you know, I didn't really enjoy I did enjoy my children when they were little, but when they're all children, I really think when children are babies, they're quite boring, and it's just a fact, you know, it's a production line, isn't it? You feed it, you change it, you put it to sleep, then it wakes up, and then you sort of, I don't know what you do with it then, do you? You just sort of, what do you do? I don't know. Do you rock it? I can't remember. And then it needs feeding again, usually fairly quickly, and then, you know, it's all punctured by those things, and then you bath it. And at the end of the day, you put it to bed and hope it sleeps for a few hours and you get a bit of rest. I know, I'm making it sound absolutely glamorous, aren't I? But then when he got older, I had to go and do things like take him to the park. Oh my God, going to the park. It's the dreariest thing, isn't it? I mean, am I on my own? I can't bear it. I live in dread when we've got a little park. When I say a park, I mean a playground, you know, with swings and roundabouts, that sort of thing. That's what I call a park, but it's a playground. We've got one just near our house, within 100 yards of our house, probably 75 yards away. And there's hardly anything in it that any of them play on, but for some reason they're obsessed with going over to the park. Can we go to the park? Can we go to the park? And normally that is Grandad's job, because he can run and I can't. I haven't run anywhere since Cliff was in the charts, I can tell you. If I can walk, I'll walk. I can walk quickly. I can't run, and I'm not going to run. So he gets lumbered. I mean, he doesn't mind, and he likes football and kicking balls around and stuff, so he does all that. I think I'm more catering and crafting. So if the kids want to do things like draw or colour, I'm your nan. If they want to do anything, I can sort of, you know, do the occasional snakes and ladders. I mean, I'm nothing if not flexible. But most of the stuff that children want to do, rough and tumble stuff, no. And I don't know if I did it with my children or not. I mean, I know that I used to sit, especially with my daughter, because she was on her own for 4.5 years before we had our son. And I used to sit and quite intensely do stuff with her, make things and well, I can't remember now. She's in her mid-40s. She'll be thrilled to told you that. So, but you know, we had a wall in the kitchen. A complete wall was covered with every picture that she ever did, because you're a bit like that, aren't you, with your first child? You have photos, hundreds of photos of them. Oh look, she's picking her nose, let's take a photo. All that, anything, you do anything. Your second one comes along and you'd be hard to know that they ever existed if you looked in the album, wouldn't you? You might have 3 or 4 photos for their first 3 birthdays and then you don't kind of bother. And I'm sure, well, I was going to say I'm sure it was the same when I was a baby, but you know, it was all sort of black and white photos and box brownies probably in those days. So yeah, it's quite funny. I have actually found a photo when I was 70. My children, well, one of my daughters, she's very crafty. I don't know if I've shown you this before. Sorry, I'm talking over myself, aren't I? She made me this for my birthday, and because I love photos, this is see, so you can see it's got my name, Linda, and a picture of me on there. I look a bit thin there. I don't know. It's not that old. I look quite thin. And she got everybody. She's got photos of everybody that means something to me or has meant something to me, and those that she could. Even my cousins that live in Australia, she's got them to send a little message, which she's put in this book. So it's lovely, and I treasure it. I think it might go in my coffin with me, unless one of the children want it, which they probably won't. They'll probably think, oh God, thank goodness we can get rid of all her old rubbish. But I found this on the first page. There's a picture of what I think must be the look. I'll stand up because I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. So this is me with my mum and my doll, whose name I can't remember. And this is, we lived in Paddington in London at the time. And look at that face. This is a face that doesn't want her photograph taken. And I really haven't been any different since. Since I've been doing YouTube, actually, I haven't minded having my photograph taken quite so much, so it's been therapeutic for that, I suppose. But yeah, so I think this is probably the look that scares people and frightens cats at 100 yards. But yeah, this is wonderful. I look through this every now and again. It's got my sister and my parents and all, you know, my children and grandchildren, notes from people, you know, extended family. So it's lovely. That is a treasured possession for me. Yeah, where was I? So yes, I've the whole sort of playing with them. I mean, when my little grandson was about 3 or 4, I decided I'd take him to a play group because he needed a bit more than me to challenge him, I suppose. And I thought, well, you can make a mess somewhere else instead. So I used to take him to a play group, and it was all. I hated anything like that when my daughter was born, because we moved house when she was about 2, and a woman across the street very kindly came and introduced herself, and she had a child as well. And she asked me if I'd like to go to a child group with her, and I thought, oh my God. I didn't say, oh my God, but in my head it was, oh, no. And so I said, oh, that's very kind of you, yes. So I did go to one with her, but I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand all the other children screaming, shouting. And I think in my experience, children of 2, 3, whatever it was, don't really share anything. Somebody picks up a toy, somebody tries to get it off of them, and then ensues a massive row. Everyone's crying, including the parents probably, and there's just no fun in that at all. So I thought, no, she can stay home with me and I'll amuse her. So things like that. So when that was fresh in my mind when I went to the playgroup with my grandson, and there all the mums were in the kitchen having coffee. It was in like a community hall thing, and all the mums would be in the kitchen having coffee. There was a couple of nanas, who were attentively sitting watching the children, because basically if you've got somebody's child for the day, you kind of got to return it in the condition that it came to you in, haven't you? You don't want any bumps and bruises or bits that have dropped off of them or anything. So, you know, it's a bit of responsibility. I think it's a bit more laissez-faire, isn't it, when it's your own child and you think, oh no, they're all right, you know. And that was, I did that for quite a few months. I took him to that, and you know, he enjoyed it, so I was proud of myself that I made the effort. But the thing is, I just don't think I'm a very good nan, because I just am no fun. I really don't think I am. And this is a bit, I know this might all sound a bit self-indulgent, and it probably is, because it's just me sitting here talking to you. I've got no one to interrupt me and say, well, hang on a minute. Yeah, you just don't do this very well, or yes, you do that well. So I took the precaution before I did this video of asking my own 2 children, and also my stepdaughter, that daughter, if they could think of 5 words that described me as a mum. So I originally asked my birth children, because obviously they've known me all their lives, and my other daughter's only known me for about 20 years, but I thought, well, blimey, 20 years is quite a long time, and I've been around her and her children all that time, so she's got to have an opinion. So, and I was quite surprised actually what they said about me. And as I say, I realise this is a bit self-indulgent, because there's not really, I said I want some negative stuff, but they didn't really write anything negative, and I think that is based on people don't want to hurt your feelings. So my daughter, my you know, birth daughter, to differentiate, she wrote supportive, understanding, humorous, loving and caring. And I thought, and she asked her daughter, and her daughter, who's 8, she said funny and kind. So I thought, well, I'll take that. My son, he wrote funny, creative, caring, generous, brave. I'm not sure what the brave is, but again, I'll take that. I said, isn't there anything negative you can find to write? And he said no. And he said, as a grandmother to his children, he thinks I'm inspiring, thoughtful, entertaining, calming and fun. Which really, I mean, they're all lovely words, and I thank them for saying those things, but I don't see me like that at all. It's really quite interesting. I suppose we never see ourselves as others do, but I've always been a bit anally retentive, so I don't think I ever let myself go and have loads of fun. I know people think, oh yeah, no, you're not shy, you're not this, but you know, I know what I'm like. Well, apparently I don't, because they're saying all these things. And the best one really was my daughter said to me, she said eye rolling. So what she means is when the children want to do something that I really don't want to do or get involved with or anything, but I still let them do it anyway. She said it's that, she can't think of a word for it. She said, but your face shows it. So my face shows that I don't want to do it, but I just let them do it anyway, because I want, you know, I want them to feel like hopefully they know we love them, but I mean, like I've said before, you want them to come and visit you in the old people's home, don't you? So if you can bribe them with chocolate when they're 4, all the power to it. That's what I think. On a negative side of, well, there's already a few negative sides of being a grandparent or having grandchildren. Everywhere you go, they have to be amused. They always have to have, if you go for a coffee, for example, you can't just sit them there and get them a coffee, blimey, that'd be a thing. Get them an orange juice and a bun or something. They've got to have a device. They can't sit there and just eat their bun and drink their orange juice and everything will be fine. They've got to be amused. They whinge, they sulk. They're like a glass that overflows. If you're filling a very large glass with water and the water's coming out the top and overflowing, and you can't stop the water coming out. That's what children are like for entertainment and entertaining. They have to be entertained. We've got to stick the video, that dates me, you know, YouTube on, or Disney Plus or something, or take them somewhere. You've got to do stuff with them all the time. They don't have any time where they can just relax and not do anything, where there's not something visual. And I think that's just I think we're, as adults, we're like that anyway. We're all getting the same, aren't we? You know, you've only got to look around you. I mean, I look on my phone a lot. Anything comes, if a question comes in my brain, like one morning I woke up at 2 o'clock for no reason, lay there thinking, and I thought, I wonder how many miles long the M25 is. So I thought, well, it doesn't really matter, does it, at 2 o'clock in the morning? But I need to know. So I got my phone, I looked, it's 117 miles if he comes up in a quiz, 117 miles. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm just as bad, and it just says something about us all, really, that we can't, you know, we don't really sit and chat, do we? I know everybody says this, I know this is a common thing, and it's a universal, global thing, but yeah, it's all changed a bit since my day. Let me see, what else have I written down here? So I thank my children for those lovely words, but I'm not kind of convinced. I mean, that kid in 1990 or whatever it was that said your mum's a bit strange, I think that they had the heads up on that. Constantly have to be amused. Yeah. I mean, things like that's another thing. I never know whether I should be telling them off when they're here. And everyone says, well, of course, it's your house. They should behave how you want them to. But it's not really quite as simple as that. You know, if you want them to still like you. And, you know, it's the constant say please, please, please. And then there's only so many times when you give them something and they don't say please, and you say, what'd you say? And they say, eh. And then you just, after the 50th time, you just give up, don't you? And washing your hands when you've been to the toilet. Have you washed your hands? Have you flushed the toilet? Yep. And I don't want to be saying that. Their parents don't say it all the time. You know, it just drives me absolutely insane. What have I written down here? Oh, competitiveness with children. This is another thing. Should we let them win at games? This is a big one with me. I'm not particularly competitive by nature, I don't think. I always expect to lose games. You can see I'm on a bit of a downer here. But I'm not that interested in games, playing games and stuff. I mean, I used to be all right at gin rummy, but then that's easy, isn't it? But anything else, I'm not really fussed. I don't expect to win. And if I do, which is almost never, although I do quite like a quiz, 117 miles round the M25, if ever that comes up, I tell you, you've got that from me for nothing. So, like, you know, when my grandchildren are here and they want to play this or that and snakes and ladders, and the 3-year-old grandchild, he's quite keen on that at the moment, so he gets that out when he comes round. And when he gets to the snake thing, and his little number ends up on the snake thing, and you have to make him, and quite a lot of the time I don't, because I don't want to make him cry, because he does cry quite a lot, and quite honestly he doesn't need too much encouragement for that. But does that make you competitive if you think you keep on winning, if you're in that full sense of, lulled into that full sense that you're winning all the time? And I've been guilty of that, but I don't know really what to do about it. I kind of made the assumption that if you are competitive, it's probably something you're born with and nurtured. So I think it's got to be in you first for a start. I don't know. It's the nature-nurture thing, really, isn't it? It's interesting to think about it. But basically, I mostly let them win. Or if they, you know, I really do try and encourage them with stuff. And if they're, you know, moody because they've been told off by mum or dad, or whatever. I kind of swoop in and try and do that whole oh, Nan will make it better sort of thing. But I'm just going to get my door before it slams. I suppose the other thing to cover is the babysitting, when they say things like, your children say things like, oh, well, you know you love them, will you babysit for me? And I always think, oh dear. I mean, I do it, and one of my daughters thinks that's a you know, a good thing, the fact that I don't actually want to do it, but I still do it. Because I don't know, I just don't like the responsibility really. Now they're getting older, some that are a bit older, and you can properly communicate with them, that's not so bad. Because I mean, like my grandson now, the one that, you know, I've was there when he was born, grandson, he's 10 now, and he's really changed. He's now, you know, 10 going on 15, because the age seems to be changing when they get to be miserable whatsits, doesn't it? And sorry, I pick him up from school, and he comes back here after school, and he sort of knows what he's done. He's got his little routine. He goes and gets a snack, and just turn my phone off, sorry. And he puts his YouTube on and watches Mr. Beast and Minecraft and all that stuff, and I sit here thinking, oh God. But so, you know, that's fine. He just kind of looks after himself. I just have to deal with the catering. So, you know, he has the same meal every time he comes, because that's what he likes. And the two of my granddaughters, they're very close in age. They're both 8. And I know you're thinking, well, that is very close in age. I mean, they're months apart. And and they're good together. They kind of look, although girls are a little bit, I've said this before in videos, girls are a bit more like dogs. And the analogy I use is, dogs want you to love them and want you to do things with them and take them for a walk, and they want to sit with you. So little girls tend to want to involve you with things and ask you about stuff, whereas little boys are like cats, and as long as you've got some food, they're quite happy doing their own thing and can sit there for hours and not make any eye contact with you. So, you know, which is kind of, I'm sure cats aren't really like that, but you know what I mean? So there's the difference, dogs and cats. So with granddaughters, you tend to have to get more involved with things and find things for them to do. And I'll tell you another thing that I've noticed particularly with one of my granddaughters. She quite often, when I go round to her house, she'll give me stuff and she'll say, well, I'll play with this and you can play with that. And I can't think of an example. Maybe it might be a couple of little dolls or something, and I don't know how to play with anything anymore. When I was a kid, when I was a child, I could play with things and I had the imagination, but I haven't got that now. I'm too busy thinking about the M25, you know. I just don't have that gift anymore, and I just sort of look at her for guidance. And if she wanted to interact her toys with my toys, then we could do something together, but I can't play on my own. I can't make up stories. You know, when they go to bed, before they can sort of take a book to get to bed with them and do it themselves, which is really strange when they first start doing that. Yeah, they say, oh, can you make up a story? And I can't. I just don't know where to start with that. I'm quite happy to read a book to you, but I can't. I've just got no imagination, and I don't know if that's an age thing, a me thing. And I kind of feel like I'm a bit of a disappointment, really. But I am, the fun word that popped up, or funny, or whatever word that popped up there, I think that maybe they might think that because I do organise stuff. I organise barbecues. It's you know, it's usually here. I organise. You know, we have Easter egg hunts with my daughter's help. We do that sort of thing here. I decorate for Christmas. I decorate for Halloween. We had a Halloween party for the kids last year. We had one the year before. We used to have them for adults. Although I'm very unsocial, I'm not very social. You know, like I'm not the life and soul of the party. I don't go around and say, oh darling, what have you been up to? You know, it's I'm kind of, I do organise food, organise decor, organise that we've got someone to do, you know, music, etc. And you know, the rest is up to you, mate. You enjoy yourselves. So I do that, and I would say I can't think of, out of all of my grandchildren, there are other grandparents that do that. I think I'm the only one that does that, which is really odd coming from someone that's so anally retentive, really, isn't it? I don't know. I'm just going to check my notes in case there was anything else I was going to mention. I'd be interested on your thoughts on stuff I've said. I hope I haven't come across, I hope I haven't offended anyone. I hope I haven't upset anyone. That is not my intention, because your views are very important to me. You know, your what's the word I'm searching for? Can't think of the word really. But you know, all my subscribers, you're very important to me. And so you know, as I say, with the exception of people who are in different set of circumstances to me, but I just find things, you know, I just find some stuff a bit amusing, really. What am I like? Is it wrong? Yeah, is it wrong to not want to babysit? Well, is it? Is it wrong? I mean, some I've got, actually I do have a good friend, one of my friends from school, and she's the person most like me that I've ever met, and I thought she'd be the opposite, because she, you know, she's got 2 lovely grandchildren, and she helps with her daughter works and son-in-law works, and she does a lot of childminding. Both of hers are both under 5. I mean, God. I mean, I've been there, I've got the t-shirt, but I don't have to do that so much now. And she says some of this, oh, well, when I tell her my stories about childminding and stuff, she laughs and she says, oh, it's the same with me. So I know there's somebody out there that's like me, at least one person, but most people aren't. They, you know, they've got all these mugs with, ooh, Nana, and I don't know, things on. I mean, I've got pictures of my grandchildren everywhere. In fact, I've had to take some of them down because they were just everywhere. And of course, children change all the time, so it's nothing worse than having really old, unless the person's not around anymore, pictures of your parents and that. But I like to have up-to-date photos of my grandchildren around, and it's just another job that I need to get done. Right, so yeah, I think I've kind of covered it, really. I'd be interested to know what you think. Do sort of, if you've got anything to say, obviously let me know in the comments. I think now that the youngest grandchild we've got is 3, he's just about to start nursery at school, he's 3.5, and so he's still in that category of, you know, he's a bit of a whinge bag, and he's a bit of a moaner, and he's very this, and you know, of course I love him, and of course he's lovely, but he does have this sort of terrible twos thing, you know, that doesn't seem to have stopped, and but you know, he will get older, and he will probably be the sort of kid that, you know, you can, it's nice when you have a conversation with them which isn't about Lego or Spider-Man, you know, when you can actually chat. And my 2 granddaughters that are 8, because some of my grandchildren I see a lot more than the others, there's no reason why we don't see the others, there's no hard feelings or anything like that, it's just that we don't. We see a group of them much more than the others. But it's nice to have the 2 8-year-old girls, especially. You can have a nice little chat with them, and especially the one that comes and stays here on a regular basis. That's really, I think, I feel my relationship with her and her brother, he's what is he, 4.5, I think. But he's a boy and he's a bit. I think it's enriching, really, when you can just chat about stuff, and rather than just say, oh, did you have a nice day at school, and then, or what did you do this week or something, and they sort of, but you know, to engage them in a conversation, that's what I mean. And it's nice when they get to that sort of age. If it's a boy though, the grandchild, like my grandson that's 10, not so easy to engage in a conversation, really, but he does have his moments, and you know, he's like I say, the two that I've actually seen come into the world, I think they're always going to have a little bit of a special place, but I wouldn't, you know, you don't think any more of one or the other. That, you know, I love them all equally, and as much as I don't really want to babysit all the time, because that's before I go. That is what the last thing I'll say. Actually, I got into the knowledge of this because my daughter with the two boys, she used to say to me, "Oh, what are you doing next Thursday?" And I used to think she was going to do something nice with me, or going to say, you know, "Do you want to come here, or do you want to do that, or can I do this with you, or what?" And then it was always followed by, "Oh," I said, "Well, nothing," because you've already said it, haven't you? You've already said, "No, nothing. I'm not doing anything. So what can you do? You can't get out of anything." And they say, "Oh, well, would you look after?" And you think, "Oh, yeah, okay then." But there we are. Anyway, thank you for listening to me, if in fact you have. I look forward to hearing your comments, as I keep saying. I'm nothing if not repetitive. And next week I'm going to try, I'm trying to do different sorts of videos really, because it's all very well me, you know, modelling clothes for you and that, and showing you things I bought from B&M. But I'm kind of, I mean, if that's what you want me to do, you know, I do it. I quite like doing them, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to do different sorts of things sometimes. It's just, yeah, I think you can get to know people a bit better really if you chat about stuff. So sorry if I've rattled on, sorry if I've been a bit self-indulgent about this. I hope I haven't offended anybody. I love all my grandchildren dearly. I love my children even more, and well, no, not even more, but you know, I said the wrong thing there, haven't I? But love them all, and I will see you. Love you too, and I will see you on my next video. So you take care. Bye bye.